welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. I hope you're having yourselves a fantastic morning this morning. I am happy to be here with you inside of where sports truly meets that thing called life. And you're hanging out with us on YouTube.com, Facebook.com, and WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com. Let's give you those channels one more time. That's Facebook.com/WakeUpCallDT, YouTube.com/WakeUpCallDT. And you're also with us on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. So however you're tuning into the show, however you're watching and listening, we appreciate you so very much Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and during our special engagement broadcast, which we will have one of those tonight. We look forward to seeing you out at Avicoli's. Avicoli's, as we are with them, I believe it is year 5 that we've been with Avicoli's, and happy to be here with you in the community of Central and Upstate New York. You can see our show tonight by coming out to Avicoli's on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York, and we're going to be with the Liverpool girls lacrosse team tonight. Head coach Aaron Anderson and the team is going to be with me as we speak on the season that is fully in play, and we're excited to do that and have them out. As always, it's always a pleasure to have their team out with us at Avicoli. So we'll see you tonight, which is April 11th at 6 p.m. on the casual pizza side, and you could come and have some dinner and get a show and have the opportunity to support the local student athletes and program and the school that's literally right up the street from Avicoli's, within walking distance of a couple minutes. So look forward to having that here with you tonight. And before we go there, PJ and I are going to be taking over this broadcast. The PJ Takeover is back, baseball and football happening, and we're going to talk a little bit about golf today inside of MonPawsPopcorn.com's What's Poppin'. Papa Joe and I will be speaking on Major League Baseball. Then we'll jump into the Jaguars. We'll get his thoughts on the extension of Josh Allen, their star linebacker, who is the single-season franchise leader in sacks in one calendar season. He had 17 and a half, and he passed Calais Campbell in order to become the new leader, and I was there the day he did it, and I got to interview him the day he did it, so shout out to Josh Allen getting an extension, which I thought was definitely well-earned for him. So very excited about that. We're going to do a Jaguars mock draft, and then we're going to jump into the NFL news and everything coming up here, as well as some PGA Tour conversation with Papa Joe this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So with that being said, let's bring in the grand old smooth one, PJ, fresh off of going and getting some lunch with me and Mom and MT. Papa Joe, how we doing?
Very good. Yes, we had a lot of fun with you and Dobby, so that's always welcome, always welcome.
Yeah, no, definitely appreciated being able to get out there and spend some time with you, get out to my second home of Florida, take a little break, take some time. Means a lot to me. So happy that we got to do it. Happy we got to see you. I know you got a rant here this morning, and I want to unleash you right away. So what do you want to talk about in the world of baseball that's been on your mind?
Well, I really wanted to go through the standings first. And
let's do that then. Go ahead.
And then I get into the rant, because it all sorts to go together, and it's something that weighed on my mind for actually several years, but just let me go through some stuff here before I get into that, and
go ahead.
We'll have a nice, lovely conversation about that. Let's go to the American League East. The Yankees are leading the division at 10-3. The Red Sox at 7-4. Yankees a big surprise because they're actually playing baseball well, and actually Mike Stanton, or Giancarlo Stanton, whatever the hell you want to call him, is hitting the ball. Of course, Garrett Cole's not pitching yet, but if they can hang in there with the rest of the staff, they'll be very formidable. In the Central Division, we got a very surprising again. Cleveland at 9-3. Detroit or Kansas City is 8-4. But Cleveland is going to be up against it because their Cy Young Award winner Shane Bieber is going to be out for a while. That's going to be part of my rant. American League West, we got Texas at 7-5. The Angels at 6-6. Kind of surprising here. The Astros are in last place in that division, which is another surprise. But things got to shake down here before you get going with things. They have to play 15, 20 games and see where their pitching staff lands and who's hitting and who isn't. Go to the National League. West, we got we got Atlanta 7-3 and Philly 6-6. Atlanta, I thought they'd be playing better ball, but they got some problems pitching too. The Central Division, a surprising Pittsburgh at 9-3. Milwaukee 8-3. That's a surprise too because they lost half of their team. And the West, we got the Dodgers at 10-5, and everyone else is below 500. So there's a few surprises, but it's going to take a while to come around. There's some hitting that's lacking, and there's some pitching that's lacking. But what I wanted to talk about this morning is this is a real pet peeve of mine, and I've seen it for years, and I don't understand why these idiots don't do something about it. I'm going to read off a list of names, and they all have something in common. You're probably going to guess it, and then I'll go expand on it.
Yeah.
We got Shane Bieber of Cleveland, Spencer Strider of Atlanta, Jacob deGrom from Texas, Ohtani from Dodgers, Sandy Alcantara from Miami, Shane McClanahan, Tampa Rays, Garrett Cole, New York Yankees, Framber Valdez in Houston. Now, these guys are the class, frankly, loosely, the class of pitching in the Major League Baseball. Shane Bieber is a one-time Cy Young Award winner. Jacob deGrom is a two-time Cy Young Award winner. What do these guys have in common? They all have to have Tommy John surgery because they can't throw anymore. Now, for me to get started, you have to understand what a pitch is. A pitch is a very violent motion from your arm. It's nothing casual about it. It can be casual like Greg Maddux, but all of these guys learned when they were young is to throw hard so they can get noticed, go into college, maybe go in to get assigned a major league deal, throw hard. Well, what they've gotten away from is they're throwing, but they're not pitching. Now, most of these guys, well, all of them, have more than 3 pitches or 4 pitches. They have fastballs, they have sliders, they have changeups, they have curves, whatever, But in your arm angle in your slot is different from all of those. The one that's really, really tough is the curveball, where your arm is way back behind your head, and you're starting to come through, and all the pressure's on your right elbow, and it doesn't hold up.
Yeah.
So these guys, they should know what to do with themselves in the off season. Now, a lot of these guys that I've just mentioned are just hurt recently. Not deGrom, he's coming back, but in the last week. Why is that? Because they're throwing, they're not pitching. Some are saying the pitching clock is involved because they're trying to get their pitches done within 20 seconds. That's junk. Don't believe that junk. That's trash. Look, these guys are slimy. These guys are slimy guys. They like to use sticky stuff, rosin or suntan lotion on their hands or fingers to try to grip the ball better spin. And the more spin you have on the ball, the tougher you are as a pitcher. And you can't do that at a young age, and you're being pushed to do it as a young age, and expect your arm to hold up. It doesn't work. Unless you're a freak, like Nolan Ryan, or Roger Clemens, or Greg Maddux, who I've said before. Greg Maddux was a consummate pitcher. Couldn't break a pane of grass with his fastball, but had all unbelievable movement on the rest of his pitches. That's what I'm saying, is these guys throw too much and don't pitch. They got to learn how to pitch. I shouldn't have to say this. These are all professionals in the highest degree that make the most money of anyone on their team. Ohtani is right in there, too, with them. Now, Ohtani is supposed to have his own regimen of doing things and this and that and this and that, and yet he gets hurt also. So if they take care of themselves in the off season, I think that it would be better for them. There's no reason why you have to go out and try to throw 100 miles an hour. Look, Major League Baseball players are great athletes. They're not going to get fooled too many times on a pitch.
Yeah.
And all of them, I'm telling you, all of them can hit a fastball. I don't care if the fastball is 102 or 95. They all hit fastballs. Now, to get them out, you have to use other pitchers. Change-ups, curveballs, sliders, other pitches where you don't have to throw 100 miles an hour to get them out. You're in a head case game with the hitters. The pitcher, the catcher's looking up at the batter before he calls a pitcher to see how he's standing. Kind of fun to watch, but if these guys were to take care of themselves a little bit better in the off season, I think it would behoove us. Now, the money that they're getting paid, they certainly should be able to have a personal trainer that they use 12 months a year. I don't know why they don't, but there's a couple of other guys. Trevor Story from Boston, and this trio of guys, Eli Jimenez, Luis Robert, and Yohan Moncada of the Chicago White Sox. These three guys and Trevor Story are position players, but they're hurt. And they're going to be out for long times, months, weeks and months at a time. Well, that's why you have a minor league system. Now, The same thing goes to the position players. Hey, the position players don't have to throw 100 miles an hour. They got to take care of their body. They got to be in shape. They got to be able to hit. And it shows you that these four guys that I just named are hurt. And they're hurt for more than the disabled list will allow them. So they're gone. Most of the time, probably gone for the season. The pitchers, there's no way you can come back from a Tommy John surgery in one season. You can't do it. And DeGrom has been out for, 18 months, something like that. I hope to see him pitch this year. And again, some of these guys that have had these injuries, they try to come back too early. They go to the bullpen. They throw this. They have a simulated game. They have this and that. If there's a certain twinge in their arm, stop. They're all heroes. They want to play and pitch with pain. That's okay. But if you pitch with pain and you're not caught, your injury's not caught, then not only are you going to be out, your team is going to be out for 5 or 6 months. If you are the number one pitcher on your team, this is terrible for a lifer like me to read this kind of information. Bothers the hell out of me. That's all I can say. I mean, you can ask questions if you want, but I just throw it out there.
No, and it's, you bring it up, and, they were saying that this reads, the list of pitchers that are hurt reads like a Cy Young ballot. It reads like Cy Young history. And you look at what's been going on. I mean, you look at the fact that Garrett Cole has elbow trouble, and he was the 2023 Cy Young winner. 2022 AL Cy Young winner Justin Verlander has shoulder inflammation. 2021 AL Cy Young winner Robbie Ray is missing the first half of the season from Tommy John surgery. 2020 AL Cy Young Award winner Shane Bieber is going to miss a year or more because he needs surgery on his elbow. And you talk about the violent throwing motion. In order to pitch a baseball, you have to do something that is not good for your body. It's not good for your arm. It's not good for your elbow. So, and at the velocity that they're throwing and what they're doing the motion of throwing a baseball is not what your body is supposed to do. And so with these guys going through injuries, well, I mean, you think about how fast, you think about their release and that click, just on that elbow, hit. I mean, guys pitching 100-something pitches in a game, and that just motion on your body that you're not supposed to do. And you mentioned all the guys that got injured recently. Then you look at like injuries of any kind to a pitcher. You take, everything that's happened with Tommy John, this, that, whatever. Then you add in guys that are just simply injured that are pitchers. Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer, Brandon Woodruff, Clayton Kershaw, Kodai Senga, Eduardo Rodriguez, who was signed on to the Arizona Diamondbacks in the offseason, Josiah Gray, who played for Lemoyne, Justin Steele. They're on the injured list as well. So you look at the fact that, the elite pitchers, like you said, a lot of these guys are kind of just, they have to sit out and they're waiting. And the explanation that they're trying to figure out is saying, what's going on here that's causing this? And, it's a multifaceted thing when people are looking at this. Now, the union issued a statement last week offering concerns that the pitch clock, like you said, implemented before last year and shortened ahead of this one. is causing the jump in injuries because pitchers don't have enough time to prepare for each pitch. Major League Baseball fired back at the union in a statement of their own, citing a study conducted by Johns Hopkins, which has yet to be published, that said it found no evidence of correlation between pace and injury. Major League Baseball also scolded the union, saying its statement, quote, ignores the empirical evidence and much more significant long-term trend over multiple decades of velocity and spin increases that are highly correlated with arm injuries, end quote. So we're looking at this, trying to figure this out. And while Major League Baseball and the MLBPA go back and forth with each other, we're trying to understand where this problem is coming from and what's going on. So you talk about velocity and spin rate and what that can do on this. Now, Oakland veteran Alex Wood put something up on X, the former Twitter, in which he said the fact that pitchers throwing at moderate and high intensity through the offseason, presumably to maintain or build velocity and spin rate, is being quote-unquote overlooked in the discussion about injuries. So the fact that pitchers are throwing at moderate and high intensity throughout the offseason. So he's saying, okay, it's not just that they're pitching during the season. During the offseason, they're trying to get prepared, and in trying to get prepared, they could be putting that wear and tear on their body. Now, he said, quote, when I first came into professional baseball in 2012, as soon as the season ended, I usually wouldn't touch a baseball until at least December, and I definitely wouldn't be throwing off a mound until at least sometime in January. I knew a few veterans, all-star types, that wouldn't even throw their first bullpen until they got to spring training in February, is what Wood wrote here. He went on to say, if you told a young pitcher today that they had to take 8 to 10 weeks off throwing in the offseason and couldn't touch a mound until at least the middle of January, they would think you were crazy, end quote. So he's talking about the fact of, hey, when I was done, I would take a break. I knew all-star guys that would take a longer break than me. If you tell a young guy right now to take a break 8 to 10 weeks, don't get on the mound, don't do this, don't do that, they would think that you're nuts. So, and you said Major League Baseball cracked down on sticky substances, which are used to better grip the baseball to limit skyrocketing spin rates. It implemented a 3-batter minimum to prevent relentless matching up late in games. And then at times the concern has felt more aesthetic than health related. The starting pitcher used to define games to serve as the big draw, eat innings, and ensure there weren't more pitching changes late in the game. So, looking at this now and saying cracking down on sticky substances and a 3-batter minimum to provide relentless matchups late in the games. So if you're going to come in as a pitcher, you have to be in for at least 3 batters. They're discussing what all of this is, right? Because what if your bullpen gets low? What if guys are hurt? What if a guy that pitched yesterday or 2 days ago has to come out and pitch again? What is that doing? The fact he's got to be out there for 3 batters, should that be a rule? Should the sticky substance stuff, like you said, when guys are using different things to try and grip the baseball, and now that they're trying to do away with that stuff, that could be an issue here. Now, where we're looking at this, Major League Baseball and its players discussed solutions to the problem during the collective bargaining. Max Scherzer was a proponent of the double hook, take out the starting pitcher, lose the designated hitter. A rule he and others believe would force teams to leave starters in longer. That idea remains on the table. So take out the starting pitcher and lose the designated hitter. In the case of Shohei Ohtani, you would lose him for both, I guess. But, looking at different solutions and ways to deal with this, PJ, the reality of the fact is guys are getting hurt. They're staying hurt. And the baseball season that wasn't described in here has extended. If you made it to my birthday of October 21st, that was the end of the World Series. Typically, if you made it to October 21st, it was game 6 or 7 of the World Series. Now, the World Series will end in November. We got spring training in February in the middle of snowstorms. The season is starting at the end of March. So the only time that a pitcher is not playing an active, like a game that counts, is December the time that a pitcher is not on the mound, I should say, is December and January. There's only 2 months out of the year that a pitcher is not out there. There's only 2 months out of the year that we're not playing some type of spring training, preseason, into the season, postseason baseball. So the other thing that goes with the sticky substances, that goes with the fact that you got to stay in for at least 3 batters, the fact of the velocity and spin rate and all that stuff, when you put all that together and you talk about the sticky substances trying to prevent the spin rate from getting out of whack, you have to add in the fact that Major League Baseball is now longer. The postseason is longer. The addition of teams into the playoffs makes it longer. So there's that side of it that isn't, that is something that I think we need to discuss even farther into this, is that if you're a pitcher and you're in rotation of 5 guys and there's 162 games, you brass tacks this thing and let's call it 150 games, right? 150 games, there's 5 pitchers. That means each starting pitcher is going to pitch at least 30 times. You add in 12 more games for 162. Let's say that you could be pitching in 31 games, 32 games. Then you go to the postseason, you make it to the World Series. So now you're pitching in about 40 games a year. Then you're involved in spring training. Then you're involved in practices. You're involved in getting on the mound. You're not listening to a doctor. You're going out there throwing. You're trying to get your velocity up in the off season. So you're standing on a mound over and over and over again in training, and then you got 40 games that you're playing in. 33 games you're playing in. I mean, the reality of it all, Papa Joe, is if you're a starting pitcher in today's baseball, and we look at the list of all of these injuries, and we look at all the names, these are notable. There are people that don't know anything about baseball. They know the name Verlander. They know the name Scherzer. They know the name DeGrom. They know the name Ohtani. They know these. They know the Garrett Cole. They know these names. And Clayton Kershaw. When we look at what's happening right now, and you look at the extent, the season just leaking into November like it does now, the reality of the fact is, if you're a starting pitcher in baseball and you're going to be asked to go out there at least 30 times, plus everything else you do, and if you're not going to listen in December and January and you're going to get on a mound and you're going to practice your speed and velocity and all that, then essentially you're pitching 12 months out of the year and you might be throwing in games 70 to 100 times, multiple times a year. So if it's already a motion that we're not supposed to do, coupled with the fact that you're going to be asked to do it a lot, coupled with the fact that you're not listening to your trainers and you're going out there and you're putting it on your body over and over again in the off season, coupled with the fact that you're pitching 90 to 100 times, I don't know why we're surprised that pitchers are getting injured when they're being asked to be out there for more months, and the only months that they're asked to not be out there, they're arguably potentially going out there anyways.
This is all bunk. This is, whatever the Major League Baseball union is saying. It's not. It's all up to the player. There's no reason why you just can't, for instance, long toss, throw the ball around. You don't need to pitch January, February, or March, or December, or anything like that. No one says you got to do that, but you got to have a working formula for you. And the one I know the best is long toss. Long toss is what it is, long toss. Yeah. Which steps in from the outfield to the catcher or whatever, to first base. You're not putting any muscle memory to work here. You're not spinning off a curveball. Besides, and a real good pitcher has 4 pitches that I noted. I told you earlier. But 3 of them you don't have to use your elbow with. You can get away with a fastball. You don't need to throw it that hard. You throw it as a changeup. Pitchers get batters out because they change speeds and they change pitches. Sliders and changeups are essential to a major league pitcher trying to get major league batters out. You don't need to throw 105 miles an hour. You're going to strike them out, or you're going to make them ground out weakly because you're throwing off-speed stuff. And the wear and tear on your arm's not that much. For someone who's has to be on the mound 12 months a year, it's a weak excuse as bull. And when they come to spring training, they're not asked to pitch at all until maybe, really, hard, and maybe the last week or 10 days of spring training. They're not asked to pitch when spring training first comes on. That's bunk. They rest. They do what they're supposed to do. They do their stretching exercises. They do long toss, soft toss, whatever. And the players the good players know how to take care of themselves. I am really surprised at this list of names, especially Cole. And Framber Valdez is a killer from Houston. And Bieber and Strider, these are all, and DeGrom, these are multi-millionaire pitchers. They should be able to take care of themselves. So whatever you hear about, whatever you read about, is all bunk unless you get out there and try it. They don't need to throw hard they don't need to do anything really when they're off. But there's nothing wrong with soft tossing every other day or something like that, just to keep everything loose, have fun, don't kill yourself, play catch with your kid or something like that. And the pitch clock that's a weak argument coming from the union. The sticky stuff in the rosin, they're always gonna find something to put on the ball somehow to get the outs. And the only reason they do that is because they want extra spin. Why extra spin? Because it's a curveball. Rosin I love is suntan lotion, which is why the umpires, when the pitcher comes off the mound, they walk right to the home plate umpire. They put their hands out and they put the glove out. The umpire goes 1-2, they wipes it with their fingers, and the guy goes in the glove out. What the hell? What is the umpire doing with that? And he knows that there's stuff there. Yeah. I mean, it's just not really prevalent. If it's not a lot of juice or a lot of gunk, then they don't have to take the guy out of the game. So I'm just a little pissed. That's all. And I want to see these guys play. I want to see competition, but I want to see them at the highest level. And they're not going to take care of themselves. Then they're hurting their team come April time.
Yeah, I mean, and like you said, and like we talked about, I mean, if these pitchers are going out there and they're playing in as many games as they're playing in as a starting pitcher, plus they're playing in the postseason, plus they're not taking any breaks in the offseason, I mean, I understand wanting to be the best you can be. I get that, and I'm gonna give you an example of the broadcasting world for me. So I had injured my vocal cords 6 years ago. And when I injured my vocal cords 6 years ago, I knew they were injured. It felt like I had ripped my right vocal cord. When I turned my neck, it felt like I was pulling it. And that feeling was awful. But what did I do? I decided to speak and do my show. And I did my show for, like 3 months or so before it started to sound a little bit more like me. And I look back on that decision 6 years later, and I went through a bunch of stuff with my vocal cords, and I had something on it that looked like a cut, and I had certain, things weren't vibrating. One side wasn't opening as much, and I had to do different things and go to voice, therapy stuff and all that. And the person that was going through voice therapy with me, they said, think about having a sprained ankle. You decided to play on a sprained ankle for months, years maybe. You played on a sprained ankle, so the ankle didn't heal. And you just kept playing on it with the pain, and you kept thinking it was going to get better, but you never gave it time to heal. And I use that example because I go to baseball. These guys try to come back. I look at Shohei Ohtani and they say, okay, he can't pitch this year. He can't pitch this year because he had surgery, but he can hit. And the guy's out there banging home runs. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, Shohei's body that's injured from pitching, or that's injured from, everything he went through and having surgery, that's the same body that's hitting home runs. I know that pitching is different than hitting, but he's still putting wear and tear on his body. And so to me, it's like, if he wanted to heal as a pitcher and a hitter, he should sit out the season. But he's not. He's hitting this season, and then he'll pitch and hit next season, hopefully. But I'm sitting here thinking to myself, well, you got to use your arms and your hands to hit, right? And your wrists to hit, right? And you got to use your arms and your hands and your wrists to do what? Pitch. So I'm sitting here thinking, is he playing on a sprained ankle all year, so to speak? Because they told him you're cleared for hitting, but you're not cleared for pitching. But you have to use parts of your body for hitting that you also use for pitching. You got to use your hips. You got to use all that stuff. You got to use your torso. You got to use your legs. So to me, it's like, yeah, he was going through an injury that didn't involve all of that. But, to the injury that he went through and the surgery that he had, if he's not set to pitch, then he's set. No, it doesn't make a lot of sense to say you can hit, but you can't pitch when you had an injury that affected your ability to throw the ball, but you have to hit the ball, and you got to be able to hit that thing hard enough coming at 90, 100 miles an hour to send it 375, 400 feet. And I'm just sitting here saying to myself, that really doesn't make any sense. So I feel like Shohei Ohtani is essentially playing injured, and then next season he's going to come back full strength after playing a full season, not 100%. That doesn't make sense to me.
No, it doesn't, and he shouldn't be out there really. But they signed him to a multi-million-dollar contract, so they asked him to do that. So he says, "Well, I'll just." He's going to be a major league ball player, whether he pitches or not.
Right.
So, but still, the pitchers know what they can get an out with.
Yeah.
They don't need to spin an 85-mile-an-hour curveball when your elbow is taxed to its maximum. You can't do that. There's splitters, there's changeups, there's sliders that you don't need to use that kind of elbow work. The sliders simply your wrist. It's not your arm, your elbow. So if you can get by with a two-seam or a four-seam fastball, a changeup, a slider, and a splitter, you're going to get a bunch of guys out. You don't need a curveball. I mean, you could. I mean, eventually your arm is going to fatigue. But if they take care of themselves, I don't know what else to say. I'm so disorientated because of what's happening here. These clubs spend hundreds of millions of dollars on these players. Maybe the clubs are at fault here too. Maybe the clubs don't have a particular regimen for them to go on. They are employees of a club. Let's put it that way. So if Spencer Strider, who should have been the Cy Young Award winner last year, and if he got hurt this year, which he did, and they're going to say, well, look at, we'll rest you. We'll put you on the IL for 30 days. We'll see after that. Yeah. If that happens, and the guy goes out there and says, it ain't going to work. So they put him on a DL, guy's out for the entire year, and maybe comes back next year to start the season. It's difficult. Pitching is hard enough as it is, but if you don't take care of yourself, it's even harder. There are a few pitchers in the history that throw as hard as Nolan Ryan, Roger Clemens, Randy Johnson, some of those guys. But you don't see a 12-6 curveball like Clayton Kershaw has. Very rarely do you see that. And it's a good out pitch, but it really attacks the hell out of your arm. Inside, these guys, Roger Clemens, used a changeup. I mean, if he's throwing 100 miles an hour, all of a sudden you got a lollipop coming in there at 83, and you're going to spin around like a top, you're not going to hit it. There's plenty of ways to pitch. There's no reason to go to say, look, I'm going to be drafted. I'm going to talk to the agent. I'm going to say, listen, I got 5 pitches that I can get out with. And the agent says, oh, that's great. I can probably sign you to someone, da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
And when the Major League Ball Plays clubs start talking to these people, they saying, well, why do you need 5 pitches? You're only 20 years old. I mean, you have 5 pitches. Are you hurt? Did you get hurt in high school? Oh, yeah, I had Tommy John surgery when I was 14.
Yeah.
That happens a lot, Daniel. That happens a lot. 14 years old, 13 years old, 14 years old.
Yeah, why? It's happening younger now.
I just spin the ball too much.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of ways to get out. My favorite pitcher of all time is Greg Maddux, Hall of Famer from the Braves. Couldn't break a pane of glass with a fastball. But got outs with everything else.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, the Tommy John surgery, it's happening so much younger now, and I was with a doctor discussing this a couple of years ago, the fact that they're doing Tommy John surgery for people that are teenagers that are 14, 15, 16 years old, arguably. And, to me, that's awful. It's awful and it's scary because whenever you have surgery, there's the chance that your body won't come back the same. And when you have surgery and there's a chance that your body won't come back the same, we're talking about kids going through this, not adults. We're talking about children. And, these they got their whole lives ahead of them. 14 years old. Could live another 80 years. And, if they don't get the surgery from the right people and they don't have the right, regimen, or they don't follow something, or, something happens in the surgery and they're 14 years old, the rest of their life is affected by that. And so, you look at this. I remember a long time ago, they were talking about surgery, and I had my knee injury, and they said, hey, man, if you don't have to have surgery, don't. Like, if you don't have to open up the knee, don't open it up, because you can never close it. And, you can't just close it up, pretend like you weren't there. And so, that's something that I look at. And let's see here. Joe said, ask Papa Joe about the ephus pitch. That's my favorite.
The ephus pitch.
Yeah.
That's a great pitch. An ephus pitch is where they actually, he can throw it from his full motion. The ephus pitch is a changeup that's lifted in the air, I would say probably 15 feet, and it just supposed to drop down over the plate and in the catcher's mitt. Of course, it can never be called a strike because it doesn't come over the plate at the area where the umpire is calling from. But it's funny to watch, and some of these guys that throw hard,
yeah,
their changeups look something like an ephus pitch. An ephus pitch is it's fun to watch, and you laugh at it. I think the umpires will call a strike if it's close anyway, just to break the balls of the hitter. And when you see the ephus pitch, and you look at the hitter and the pitcher, and they're laughing, they're grinning a little bit. Well, I got you on that one. It's something that I don't see 10 ephus pitches a year total, but they're fun to watch, and they're hard to hit.
Yeah, and we're looking at this, and he said the Casey Fossum flop. So that's what Joey sent over here with the ephus pitch. So I want to take a look. I'm looking at it in studio right now, the ephus pitch. But and by the way, I want to tell people this right now. We are at 996 subscribers on our YouTube channel. We are 4 away from 1,000. And so if you're watching and listening anywhere in the world and you haven't subscribed yet, which is free, go to YouTube, where a lot of you are watching and listening right now. Go to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt and click subscribe, as we are about to hit 1,000 people. I'm looking at the pitch right now, PJ, in the studio here, and I'm looking at they actually have an arrow that kind of shows where this ball is going to go. So I'm taking a look at it right now in studio, speaking on the ephus pitch once again, folks, as we talk about this. And yeah, Casey Fossum from the Rays. Yeah. So Joe bringing that up, Casey Fossum. And so I want to look at this here and talk about it, kind of describe it to you all as we take a look at this pitch here right now. And so the greatest ephus pitch. And yeah, I'm looking at it in the studio, and that one doesn't seem that one seemed okay. But okay. I guess this is the one that's got the high angle. Let's look at this one. Because there's a bunch of different pictures that I'm seeing here in the studio right now. Let's see what this one looks like. Okay. There's some that look a little bit crazier than others. But
the higher it goes, the more ephus it is.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is I'm looking at some of these because they showed. Oh, there it is. That's the one I was looking at here. That one just kind of, yeah. And but the thing is, obviously it's less wear and tear on your arm, and it's not causing you to, do that crazy motion, but you're also lobbing a ball up in the air when I finally got to some of the ones, because this was a montage of different pitchers, I got to some of them toward the end where they're basically just throwing it up in the air and it's like a sitting duck for a batter to hit. So, yeah.
Like a wedge shot in golf.
What'd you say?
I said it looks like a wedge shot in golf.
Yeah. It looks like you're hitting it out of the sand type of thing. So.
Listen, I got some stats to go through.
Yes, sir.
Before we kick off into football, so if we can do that, I can do that now.
Yeah, go ahead and break it down. PJ here with us, Papa Joe, and the PJ Takeover on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. PJ with us on Thursdays, and you're, of course, with us Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both / Wake Up Call DT, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. PJ has got some thoughts for us to jump into, and so we're going to jump right into those thoughts that you have, PJ. And as we jump into that, we'll have the opportunity for you to take a look at some of the statistical pieces that you want to get into this morning. So I will tell you to fire when ready.
All right. Let's go over some hitting. I'll start in the American League. Stephen Kwan from Cleveland hitting 386. I don't know much about Stephen. I had to look him up. Another guy who spent some years in the minor league before he comes out. The next two guys, Anthony Volpe from the Yankees, 372, and Juan Soto from 360. Those guys are hitting or carrying the team. Volpe was the 21-year-old shortstop from New Jersey last year that made the team, played the whole year. This year they're expecting a lot from him, and he'll deliver, I think. So that's why the Yankees are 10-3. Got a couple of good hitters that are in my call. Mike Trout's leading the league in home runs in 6. How about that? Tyler O'Neill from Boston's got 6. Adolis Garcia's got 13 RBIs. Juan Soto from the Yankees has 12. There's Soto again. You know, Yankees really got to pay attention to what's happening this year because the other teams are going to try to steal this guy. They only got him for a year. So if he has a big year, then the Yankees are going to have to really go out of pocket to keep this guy. And frankly, he's worth it. He's a good player. But for all the players and all the guys that watch baseball and the fans and everything to think that Mike Trout is dead, he ain't dead. He's hitting 286, and he's got 6 home runs. Now, the deal with Trout is pitchers pitch to him differently when there's people on base. You have to understand that. If he comes up with the bases empty, and the pitcher tries maybe a few things, a fastball here, a slider here, something like that, Trout is no dummy. He knows what he's looking for. And a lot of his home runs are just single shots. Because when he comes up with men on base, the pitchers are saying, well, you know, I know he hits a fastball well. Let's start him out with a changeup and things like that and get him off balance. Trout can still hit, folks. Let's go to the National League. And my notes are everywhere. Will Smith and the Dodgers hitting 412. Now, remember us last week saying Will Smith signed a 10-year, $140 million contract to be a catcher for the Los Angeles Dodgers. How about that? And here he's hitting 412. Orlando Garcia is hitting 385 from Atlanta. Mookie Betts is hitting 364 from the Dodgers. I love it. Home runs, Christian Yelich from Milwaukee's hit 5. Marcell Ozuna from Atlanta's hit 5. Mookie Betts, here he is again, is 5. Christian Yelich, in my opinion, has been in a slump since he won the Most Valuable Player Award, 4 years ago, 5 years ago? He still hasn't looked the same. Now, with me trying to watch as much Milwaukee ball as I can, I still don't see him comfortable up there. He's too good of a hitter to be fooled. So we'll see what happens with that. RBIs, Teoscar Hernandez, the Dodgers have got 15. Remember the Dodgers got Hernandez from Seattle, and I don't know why Seattle got rid of him. They maybe traded him for a cup of coffee, but this guy's too good. Your man Lourdes Gurriel's got 14 from Arizona.
Yeah.
Arizona's still floundering a little bit. Corbin Carroll's starting to pick it up a little. I think he's hitting 224. he was down below the Mendoza line. So I look for Corbin Carroll to pick it up a little bit. Pitching in the National League, you got Tyler Glasgow from the Dodgers. He's got 3 wins. Glasgow's the guy they got from Tampa Bay. Again, it was a fire sale for Tampa Bay, and this is what they got, one of the best pitchers in the league. In the American League, the winners are Cody Bradford from Texas. He got 3 wins. Don't know much about Cody. Going to have to look him up. Luke Weaver from the Yankees has got 3. Big surprise, Weaver, coming up in minor leagues. This guy wasn't expected to do this, so I'm glad to see that. Without getting involved too much, it's still young in the season, but there are some tendencies out there. If you look, if I'm thinking the Trout is hitting the ball well now, and he's relatively healthy, then he should be able to carry himself into the year. I look for Trout to play at least 140 games this year. If he can do that and put up the numbers, I think he'll be eligible for another Most Valuable Player award.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens with Mike Trout. I put up a poll last week, and I tell people all the time to go on to X, the former Twitter, and follow us there at CallDT. That's CALLDT. And when you join us, you can see our polls go up every week or every couple weeks. And we put up a poll that just finished up, and that poll was, what would you like to see happen with Mike Trout? Would you like to see him stay with the Angels, or would you like to see him get traded? And you had originally kind of maybe leaned a little bit more on him getting traded, but it ended with 72+% of people saying that you want him to stay with the Angels. So, those could be some Angel fans, as PJ said. He's leading in home runs in the nation right now. So, could be some Angels fans that found it on there and said, "Oh, no, he's got to stay here with us. We already lost Ohtani." So, we shall see. But, the poll just came up here, and you voted that you would elect for him to stay with the Angels.
That's neat. That is really neat. But, the fans have got to understand that it's early in the year, and if Trout is the only person on that team, and he is, other than Anthony Rendon, who apparently doesn't want to play baseball anymore, he's the only person that can actually sway the way a game is being played. And he can't carry this team by himself. If Tony can't do it, he can't do it alone.
Yeah.
But I still look for him to hit his homers, RBIs, and get his average, play great center field. I just want to see him play a full season and get the MVP again. So I'm happy for him.
And we just had another poll finish up that came in here on X. Once again, follow us at CallDT. That's CALLDT on X, the former Twitter. Follow us there and vote in our polls that we put on throughout the year. I try to put something up every week or every other week. We just had this one finish. What will happen with the New York Mets this season? Will they make the playoffs or will they miss them? 28.6% of you said they will miss the playoffs. They will make the playoffs. 71.4% of you, over 70% of you that voted, said that the Mets will not be in the playoffs this year. Your thoughts, PJ?
The Mets are awful. They're 4-7. 3.5 games behind already the Braves, and you can't let the Braves sneak away here. Besides the Marlins being 2-11, the Mets are probably one of the worst teams in the league right now. They got a home run hitter in Pete Alonso. They don't have the arms that they have. I don't know why. If you're a major league ball player and you're in the minor leagues and you're saying, "God, I'd love to be traded to the Mets. I'd love to try to get up there and play ball in New York City." I mean, let's face it, playing ball in New York City, that's pretty neat. But I don't know too many players that want to go to a bad team when they come to New York. So let's hope that they come around. Right now, they don't look like anything.
Yeah, we'll see. Over 70% of you saying the Mets will not make the playoffs in our poll that we put on X at CallDT. That's CALLDT. We are in hour number 2, which means we're going to take a step aside for a fast break. We'll switch fields PJ and I will jump to the Jaguars. I got something in the studio here that mock drafts for us, so the computer will draft the other 31 teams. We'll draft just the Jaguars. I'll let PJ know where we're at and who's available, and we're going to do a Jaguars mock draft after this fast break. We'll also get into Josh Allen's extension, joining Foye Oluokun getting extended by the Jaguars, and what I consider the best part of their team in its entirety, which is their linebacker core. So we'll discuss that, and we'll go forward into the NFL news as well as how excited PJ is that there's going to be a game in Brazil happening this season. We'll be back talking about all of that right after this, where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Stay with us. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there, and of course you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100, and also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout Central and Upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also, I think we recognized that, we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level, is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career. It's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
Head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And PJ and I are now going to be bringing you our conversation on where things shake out in our mock drafts for the Jacksonville Jaguars. PJ has a list that he is going to jump into, and I am going to do a mock draft as it happens. I'm going to do a computer simulated one after PJ gives his thoughts. So PJ, I'm going to defer to you as we jump from one field to the next, hour one to hour two. We talked about baseball and a bunch of different topics in that respect. And now we will head on to the football world and to your mock draft for the Jaguars for 2024. This is PJ's mock draft 1.0. PJ, what do you got for me?
All right, 1.0. I like that. I don't know if I could ever teach a class on that, but it'd be fun doing it. Actually, I had fun doing it. And there's a couple of pundits down here that write for the Jacksonville Jaguars and the newspapers and the TV shows down here. And I put them together, and I sort of got an average where I would be comfortable talking about trying to prep a person up. I didn't want to talk about the person and not know anything about them, and I did that. And some of these names I had after Brian Thomas, I had to look them all up because I didn't know who they were. But okay, I'll start. They got the 17th pick in the first round, and if you remember me last year talking. I changed my view mainly because this guy is so big and tough. Brian Thomas from LSU is my pick for the first round for the Jaguars. 6'3", 210, runs a 4.440. He is an absolute beast, and he will complement Kirk and the rest of these guys we got. I think matter of fact, I think he can play wide. I don't know if he'd be a slot. Maybe just keep Kirk in the slot, but this guy's a killer, and I'm very happy to read about him, and I'm glad I'm pretty sure, not sure, but I'm pretty sure that that'll be our first round pick. The next selection I got is number 48. A gentleman by the name of Marshawn Nealand from Western Michigan. He's an edge rusher, powerful guy, has something over 40 sacks in his career over there. He's a big physical player, and frankly, the way we talk about the Jaguars all the time, they can always use defense line or edge players, always. So that's one guy that I really liked it. The next pick is number 96. Cam Hart, the cornerback from Notre Dame, 4.5 speed. He's 6'3", plays a tall corner. Love this guy. I think he held Marvin Harrison Jr. to a couple of catches when they played against Ohio State. So this guy, I don't know if he's going to be around at 96. He's too good for that. Just like I don't think Brian Thomas is going to be around 17, but you don't know that. All right, next selection is number 114. Gentleman by the name of Mohamed Kamara, another edge rusher from Colorado State. 3+ years leading the team in sacks. He's a tough guy. Love this kid. The more I read about him, the more I liked about him. Next, I go to pick 116. I got Leonard Taylor, defensive tackle from Miami. 6'4", 300 pounds. Stuff the middle. Love it. Stuff it. Next, I go 153. I got Trevor Keelan, a guard from Michigan. Good depth. You know, we always need depth at this position. He's 2-time All-Big Ten player for Michigan. He looks like, I don't know if he's going to be there at 153 either, because he seems to be very popular the more I look into him. So, we're always talking offensive line, defensive line, wide receiver. So we're really covered so far with those.
Yeah.
I got pick number 212. I got Andrew Coker, a tackle from TCU. This guy's versatile, plays all around the line. Again, this is a good pick, a good selection for the Jaguars because he can plug and play wherever is needed if he's that good. Now, we know that the guys I'm talking about and the guys you're going to talk about probably, won't make the team, but at least we can give them a kudos,
Yeah.
The last one is 236. I got Jordan Shurkin, a running back from Monmouth. Now, Monmouth doesn't play real good football over there, but this guy is supposed to be real versatile and catch the ball out of the backfield, blocks, does a lot of good things well. So if we got a running back that's needed in the last round and this guy is available, then I think we should take him. So those are my picks, Daniel, and just what I could talk about from what I read about him,
Yeah, no, and I can appreciate it very much so, you taking the time to do those picks. And I'm going to do mine too. I have a simulator in the studio that I've run a few times here just to kind of, see what was going on. The first time that I ran the simulator, I got who I wanted. Now, it's nice to see, and I'm running it right now, and Caleb Williams, Drake May is like the first two that keeps happening here. But as I'm looking at the simulator and it's going through all the teams and I'm just picking for Jacksonville, my hope here is that I'll be able to get, and I don't get him in this one either, son of a b. But I'm looking at this and I'm realizing how much I want this guy. I covered him in college and he's somebody who was overlooked. He went to SUNY Albany. And then after going to SUNY Albany, he transferred to Florida State via the transfer portal. He's an edge rusher. And it was nice to see. I was looking at some people covering the Jacksonville Jaguars that also chose him with their mock draft in their first round in this pick 17. And Jared Verse. So Jared Verse, the edge rusher. I think Jacksonville's biggest needs are in the interior. When we're looking at this team, the defensive line and the offensive line, not necessarily in the interior of those lines. I'm talking about the interior of the game. So starting from the lines, building outward. As I said on yesterday's show, the conversation that I had with George O'Leary many years ago, who was the head coach of UCF at the time and was coaching Blake Bortles, when he said to me, you have to build your team from the inside out. You have to build your team from the trenches. If you do not know that your offensive and defensive line are the most important components of building this thing, then you should probably do something else with your career. He said, that's what you have to hone in on. I shouldn't even say most important, but he said, if you build from the lines out and you understand that is the most crucial place, that is the place you have to focus on. Offensive and defensive line. If you don't take care of that, you're not going to win championships. If you don't know that, you should probably get out of coaching. And so I'm really focused on Jacksonville's offensive and defensive line. I saw a mock draft for the Jaguars that only had them picking offensive and defensive linemen through the entire draft up until the last couple rounds, which I don't necessarily disagree with. So if it was up to me, I would be picking Jared Verse in this. And if Jared Verse isn't there as an edge rusher, then you could look at another guy that I've seen out of Penn State, Chop Robinson. I've seen him on people's boards. But I have Jared Verse, and then Chop Robinson is another piece here to get an edge rusher. I think it's 17 overall. The Jacksonville Jaguars need help on their defensive line. They are struggling with that defensive line. They are lacking depth on their defensive line, even more than their offensive line, which is crazy to say because typically on their offensive line they don't have depth. Last year they did, and they let a bunch of those guys go, and those guys, some of them ended up in their practice squad. And they're, available, thank goodness, because they had to go to 3 different left tackles last year. So in the first round, I'd be going with Jared Verse or Chop Robinson. Then I'm going to go interior O-line, and I'm looking at Christian Mahogany, offensive guard out of Boston College, or Cooper Beebe, offensive guard out of Kansas State. I'm going to go with Beebe in this one. So Beebe in the second round, 48th overall after picking 17th. And now the mock draft continues to simulate here. The thing I like about the simulator is it tells me who's already gone, obviously. And so, as we go through this and we give names that we think like, hey, this could be a good guy there, this could be a good position. When you go through a mock draft, it'll knock out some of those guys. And it also helps me have to think on the fly because Chop Robinson was not the guy I was thinking about. I was thinking about Jared Verse, but in this simulator, sometimes he's available, sometimes he's not. So the next pick the Jaguars are going to get is 96 overall. It's in round 3. This is the highest awarded compensatory pick of the 34 picks awarded by the NFL this season. Jaguars got 2 picks for 2 trades that they have had in their history. And so the 96 overall pick, like I said, is the highest compensatory pick that any team got this year. Now, I could look at this and say to myself, okay, do I go offensive line again to create that depth? How about I look for best available? So if I go for best available in round number 3, they're telling me I got defensive tackle Mason Smith out of LSU. I got Blake Corum, running back out of Michigan. I don't need a running back. They already got 3 of them. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take defensive tackle Mason Smith out of LSU. And I'm going to try and help the interior of my defensive line, which is lacking depth as well. So I got an edge rusher, an interior O-lineman, an interior D-lineman in the first 3 rounds. Jacksonville's next pick is going to be 114. That's going to come in round number 4, which will be on day 3. The Jaguars have 2 picks that are going to be almost back-to-back. They have pick 114 and 116 of the round 4. So I'm looking at this right now and I'm saying, okay, Jaden Hicks, safety out of Washington State. They got their safeties. So I'm not really looking at a safety. I'm going to go back to offensive and defensive line here because they brought in Gabe Davis. They don't need a running back. They got their tight end in Evan Engram, and they got some backup guys there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to look at and say, okay, Blake Fisher, offensive tackle out of Notre Dame, is still there. Matt Goncalves is still there out of Pittsburgh, but I'm going to go interior offensive line. I'm going to say, okay, Brandon Coleman is still there from TCU at offensive guard. Let me go D-line, and let's see what's available on the D-line. So defensively, let's go edge. We got Solomon out of Troy. We have Jonah Ellis out of Utah. Cedric Johnson out of Ole Miss. D-tackle, we have Mekhi Wingo out of LSU. We have Tyler Davis, defensive tackle out of Clemson. I'm going to take him out of Clemson. So I'm going to go 2 D tackles in this so far, and I'm going to go 1 edge rusher. We have Javon Fisher out of Missouri at an off. I'm going to get a backup offensive tackle. Well, let me see here. Do I want to go there or do I want to go here? I can go Layden Robinson. I can go Isaiah Adams out of Illinois. I'm going to go with Brandon Coleman. He's been saying, see, this is the hard part. I'm going back and forth with offensive linemen. Do I want to tackle or do I want to guard? I'm going to give myself a little more help at guard because Tyler Shatley's not on the team anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take I don't know if I want that guy, though. I'm going to go a little bit on out here, and I'm going to take Zach Zinter, who's a little couple down here, offensive guard out of Michigan. I'm going to take him off of the championship team. And then I got the Jaguars drafting for a third time in round 4 at pick 153 overall. So they have 3 picks in the 4th round. And in the 4th round, and keep in mind, folks, PJ and I will continue. We're exactly 2 weeks from the draft right now. So PJ and I will get another mock draft in. We'll do some more with that. I'm going to be doing my mock. There's some cool things we're going to be doing on Wake Up Call with the mock draft. We are definitely going to do the entire first round, every single pick 1 through 32 that I've done the last couple of years. And I'll do the entire first round mock draft. The last 2 years, I think, went well as far as the picks that I had, guys that I had right on point. Or if I didn't have that guy, he was like maybe a pick off. Or if I didn't have that specific guy, they still drafted that position. So I'm coming off of 2 years where I feel like I was able to navigate through some of this stuff. We're going to do it again this year because it's not an easy thing to do, but it's a lot of fun. And so at pick 153, I've gotten myself 2 interior linemen. I've gotten I've gotten an edge rusher, and I've gotten 2 D tackles. So I'm going to go back to the edge rushers and see who's available here. Xavier Thomas out of Clemson. We have Fatui out of Washington, and we have Brennan Jackson. These are slim pickings here. You know what? I think I saw this guy come out. Sundiata Anderson out of Grambling State. Between him and Eric Watts. So these 2 guys, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to take Watts because UConn's been able to put together some good defensive players, whatever their record may be. So I'm going to take Watts. And so I got 2 edge rushers, 2 D tackles, 2 interior offensive linemen. Those have been my picks so far. In round 5, 212, I'm going to be looking for best available now in these last 3 rounds for the Jaguars. So I'm going to go ahead and see what we got here for best available as we head into round, let's see here. So round 6. So there's not a round 5 for me. So in round 6, 212, I'm going to take a look at what we got here. Waiting for the simulator to run to tell me who's available. And I'm going to be, like I said, I'm going to be looking for who the best available is going to be. They're saying on this specific site, the Jaguars need a corner, a wide receiver, D tackle, O tackle, and offensive guard. I went offensive line, I went D tackle, and I went edge. They're saying corner and wide receiver. I'm going to be looking for best available at this point at 212 in round number 6. So let's see what we got here. I don't need a running back, and they're up here, so I don't want to do that. I don't need a tight end. So let's see. Offensively, I'm going to look at wide receiver. We got Josh Cephas out of UTSA. We got Anthony Gould. Got Bob Means. Let's see who's available here. I don't know. Maybe Cephas. I'm going to look at corners and say, okay, I could get some help at corner. So I'm going to take Carlton Johnson out of Fresno State with pick 212. So that's going to bring me to round 6, pick 236. And now I'm going to probably jump on a wide receiver here and bring a wide receiver into the building. Now, in other mock drafts that I will do in the next couple weeks before we get to the draft, I may be going a wide receiver or a defensive back earlier. For this draft specifically, I wanted to focus on offensive and defensive line. And I was interested in the fact that one of the sites that I was on did exactly that and waited until round 6 to go after other positions, which is what I did. So, and looking at who they picked here in their mock draft, and they did go corner in the first round, which I wouldn't. I would go either offensive or defensive line. But getting to pick 236, now I got to look and see who's going to be available offensively at wide receiver. Cephas is still there out of UTSA. I'm going to take Cephas, which will bring me to round 7. And I don't think I have any picks here. What did they trade? One of my picks or something like that? So, yeah, so those are my picks. So my picks are going to shake out as that. So I will have 2 D tackles, 2 interior linemen, 2 edge rushers, and I'm going to pick up a wide receiver and a defensive back. So this is what it's showing me. I got Chop Robinson, edge rusher. I got offensive guard Cooper Beebe, defensive tackle Mason Smith, defensive tackle Tyler Davis, offensive guard Zach Zinter, edge rusher Eric Watts, cornerback Carlton Johnson, and wide receiver Josh Cephas. I feel like the Jaguars need to focus on defensive and offensive line. I do think that they can look for best available wide receiver maybe a little bit earlier when I do a future mock draft, as this is 1.0. I may be getting a wide receiver in one of those areas like round 4 where I have a bunch of picks. I could be looking at doing something like that. So that could be an avenue for me. I think they should bring in a defensive back, probably a corner. They should bring in another wide receiver, but my focus is offensive and defensive line. They don't need a quarterback. They don't need a running back. They don't need a tight end, and they don't need a linebacker. So I'm hoping that they're going to stay away from going for some of that stuff. They definitely don't need running back, quarterback, tight end. So I don't want to see the Jaguars take a tight end in round 3. I'm going to freak out and scream at the television. So PJ, I mean, that's what we're looking at right here. Some are going corner early. Some are going defensive side of the ball early on the line. You went to some areas. You went to wide receiver. There's different places we can go with this, but I think ultimately we can agree on the fact that the Jaguars need help on their defensive line rotation. They definitely don't have claimed starters that are like fully there. I mean, Roy Robertson Harris, I would say. Eric Armstead, they brought in from the Niners. Let's see how he comes back from injury. But, you know, they lost Fatu Kasi, and so now we're in a place where I think they really need help there. That's where I would look first, then offensive line. So it'll be interesting, but you and I will be mock drafting and covering this as we go. I'm going to do Jaguars specific, and then I'm going to do the entire first round for the whole NFL, and I'll do some other things as we go as well. So just to, you know, make myself have to research a lot. But I like doing this, PJ. This was fun.
It is fun. And I spent a little time doing it, and I wanted to familiarize myself with going deep in these rounds like this. There's just so many players out there, and I wound up with three defensive line, including an edge, 2 offensive line, 1 wide receiver, 1 cornerback, and 1 running back. Running back, I don't even know why I threw that in there, but I think the defensive line guys I got and the ones you got, hopefully we'll be able to draft one of them, you know. So we didn't agree on anything.
Yeah, well, and that's good. You know, it gave us a little bit of a different feel. I'm happy that I've seen other people that have prognosticated the Jaguars picks have also gone with Jared Verse, the edge rusher that came from Albany and then went to FSU. Like I said, I have interviewed him. I do enjoy the story that he has, and you know, I'm very much looking forward to seeing where he's going to end up. But you know, I think if he's there for Jacksonville, and Jacksonville has been known to take UCF, Florida, and Florida State guys. They take those guys that played in Florida and they keep them at home. So you know, we shall see what they're going to do here. But they got so they do have. Let me see. Did I say that was a so 236 is a round 7 pick? My apologies. I said it was a round 6. But the picks the Jaguars have once again are round 1 pick 17 overall, round 2 pick 48, round 3 pick 96, the highest compensatory pick awarded by the NFL once again of the 34 picks they allotted this year. Round 4 pick 114, round 4 pick 116, which came from New Orleans, round 5 pick 153, round 6 pick 212, which is a compensatory pick, and round 7 pick 236. So they have a pick in every single round as of now. 1 in the first, 1 in the second, 1 in the third, 2 in the fourth, 1 in the fifth, 1 in the sixth, 1 in the seventh. So I don't know if maybe I had a trade where I ended up with another one here, but that's what it looks. Or did I pick 150? Oh no, I did. I picked 153. So those were the same picks. So yeah, so the Jaguars have a pick 2 in round 4. I said 3. They have 2 in round 4, not 3. I mistakenly put 153 in round 4. So that's what it looks like. Jaguars a bunch of picks, a pick in every round, 2 picks in round 4. It'll be exciting to see where they go with this. PJ and I will be tracking this for you leading all the way up until the draft. Will it be Jared Verse? Will it be a wide receiver? Will it be an offensive lineman? We shall see. We're going to take a step aside for a fast break. When PJ and I spin back around, we're going to talk about Josh Allen signing his extension with the Jaguars, as well as Foye Oluokun before that, and what that linebacker core means to the team. And then we'll get into the NFL extending into Brazil, as PJ is going to be heading to Sao Paulo on Friday, September 6th, because he cannot wait for this game in Brazil. So he's going to be out there, hey, bang, you bang, hey, bang, 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 bang. So he's going to be having a good time. I'm excited. And he's already got his flag. He's already got his Brazilian stuff. He's got his face paint. He's going to be wearing green all day, which is fitting because the Eagles are going to play the Packers. So PJ will tell us about the caravan of people he will be flying from Florida to Brazil for this game, and that's coming up right after this fast break, where sports meets life.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks, coming to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, is your home for all your sports card needs, whether it's packs, boxes, singles, graded cards, or if you need supplies, you go in there and get whatever top loaders, whatever size you need for whatever card you're trying to fit in. You got those thicker cards that have the jerseys in them. They have the top loaders for that. You need the thin ones, they got those. You need to put something in a one-touch case, they have that as well. They have boxes for you to put your cards in. Literal binders. It's a one-stop shop. If you've never collected cards before, this place has everything you need to get started, speaking of GG Cards and Breaks. And if you've been collecting all your life, they have everything you need to keep it going and that personal touch that makes it so special. Come into GG Cards and Breaks, available to you every single Monday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and on Sundays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. A fantastic home for the sports card hobby, keeping us connected to the teams we love and the players we love in such a unique way, with people that truly care about you, truly care about our community, and are just absolutely wonderful people. So make sure you go in and say hi to Josh, Anthony, and the entire team at GG Cards and Breaks, 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, the place I go to and I have chosen for all my sports card needs. And of course, you can get in touch with them by heading out there. You can also go to ggcardsandbreaks.com. And we appreciate everybody that's gone out there from the show. Let them know that DT sent you. We appreciate that as always. With that being said, PJ and I have a few things to wrap up here with the Jaguars before we jump in a final note about the NFL. PJ, the Jacksonville Jaguars got some free agents sitting out there in the wings, and maybe they're going to bring them into training camp. Maybe they're going to make the practice squad. Maybe they're not going to be on the team. What are your thoughts, Pete? Bring us into the list that we got left.
Okay. Hold on. I got another page. All right, listen, the ones that I got, and are Jamal Agnew, which I'm not sure they're going to sign him.
I don't think they will. Yeah.
But I would like to see him. Dwayne Schmoot, I don't think it's going to be signed. Trey Herndon, they need to get him signed. Tyler Shatley's gone, right?
I can't. I mean, they might listen. He's been Old Faithful, and so in my opinion, I would hang on to him. But they gave him a 2-year extension, and then they brought in another center, and Luke Fortner they drafted a couple of years ago, and they pushed him down the line behind the guy that they brought in. So I don't think that there's, based on what I'm seeing, I don't think that there's a place left for Tyler Shatley, which is sad because he's been one of the only guys that stayed healthy for the Jaguars on the offensive line.
Okay. Next, I got Angelo Blackson.
Yep.
Then I got Jack Quarterman. I think Quarterman I need to sign. Chris Claybooks. Matt Barkley, the quarterback. They're not going to sign him. Henry Mondeau. And Jalen Moore. Those are the ones that I got listed that I read about.
Yeah, and the ones that we have here, Jamal Agnew, this one is going to be sad, in my opinion. Jamal Agnew has given a lot to the team. Jamal Agnew came with Marvin Jones Jr. from the Detroit Lions. So Marvin Jones back with Detroit. Jamal Agnew came with him. Jamal Agnew, a guy who could be a run. He's a shorter wide receiver, so he could play wide receiver. He could play running back. He kick return, punt return. Did a tremendous job for the Jaguars. I don't know why. I don't think he's expensive. And so, they got Devin Duvernay, wide receiver out of Baltimore, who I'm anticipating is going to be returning punt returns and kick returns for the team. So returning punts and kicks with Duvernay now kind of leaves Jamal Agnew without a job, which is very sad in my opinion. especially with everything that he's given to the team. So, I mean, I don't want to see that happen, but it seems like Duvernay coming in is the end line for Jamal Agnew. As far as Dewan Smoot goes, Big Smoot, he had signed his extension with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and now he's in a place where he's an unrestricted free agent. So he had signed an extension. I was there, and I've been there for 13 years on site for the majority of that in some respect. This is year 14, God willing, by the grace of God. Dewan Smoot was drafted by the Jaguars out of Illinois, and there was a time where you were thinking, like, is this guy going to see the field? Is he third string? Is he in the rotation? And then, you know, he did well enough for them to keep him, and then he came back from injury last year, and man, you know, him and I talked about that and the get back and the push and the appreciation of the game and the faith, and it was awesome. So, I mean, if he's not going to be on the team this year, that's going to be sad, because I know that they need help on the defensive line, and this is a guy that's been in the league for a bunch of years, so maybe his ticket's going to be a little bit higher, but I still think Dewan Smoot can be brought in here a little bit cheaper. Some people have him as a linebacker, some have him on the defensive line. He's a guy that you can kind of utilize at different places. I think a guy that knows the team, knows the guys on the team, and can be used in multiple locations and isn't that expensive would be a good guy to keep. If I was going to think about keeping anybody on this, it would be Dewan. The people that I feel like more than anybody they should keep for the transition. I like Agnew too, but as far as transitioning into the team this year from last year, Dewan Smoot, Trey Herndon, those guys have been utilized at times where you need help. Dewan Smoot, like I said, I didn't know if he was going to stay on the team, and then he ends up fighting his way for playing time. Trey Herndon filled in really well when Jalen Ramsey was traded. And Trey Herndon, he's a guy who appreciates his time. He's one of the vets in the locker room. I love talking to him because he seems like a really humble guy that appreciates his blessings and is happy to be there. He's been on he's one of the longest tenured Jaguars. So, you know, I mean, looking at that, Tyler Shatley being Old Faithful as well, he's in the same boat as Trey Herndon. When they needed, if they said to Trey Herndon or Tyler Shatley, you're not going to be the starter, but we may need you. Those guys stayed on the team, and whenever somebody got injured, they stepped up. Tyler Shatley, time and time again, stepped up. Trey Herndon stepped up. So, I mean, it's got to be really difficult to tell this guy, you're not our starter, you're not our dominant guy, you're not our guy that's going to make a ton of money on the team, you're not going to get one of those big contracts from us, but we may lean on you. And they've leaned on Herndon and they've leaned on Shatley. And so, to me, those guys would be the guys that I would want to keep on this team because of the fact that when you needed help, you had them, and Shatley filled in at center. He filled in at guard. Herndon filled in whenever you needed him as a defensive back. So, I mean, and like I said, Shatley's not expensive. Herndon's not expensive. I don't think Smoot would be expensive. They're not going to bring back Matt Barkley. He's already moved on to another team. And, you know, Angelo Blackson, he was used on the defensive line in places. I'm probably not going to see him. Shaquille Quarterman's young in the game. I covered him in college. He's a guy that they could keep at linebacker as an insurance policy, and that would be another guy that went. None of these guys are really going to cost them much of anything. So I'm a little surprised with the Herndon and Shatley, just because, like I said, they've been a Band-Aid when the team needed one. And Dewan Smoot, you know, he's a guy that I think the longer he's been in the NFL, maybe he's starting to find his way and come up a little bit. They leaned on him and said, hey, we're going to give you some more, and not leaned on him. They kind of banked on him, saying, we're going to give you some more time on the team. And I think that, you know, he's been trying to repay that faith that they had in him. And you know, I think he's done a pretty good job. So, you know, it is a little surprising to see that. I think if I had to put my money on who they're going to keep, I would say Shatley, Smoot, Herndon, probably in that order. I don't think Agnew, and I don't see the other guys staying, but there's value in these guys, PJ. They're not expensive, and they've been able to use them for depth and lean on them. So, I mean, you could sign Shatley for a couple $1 million. You could sign him 1 year, $2 million. You could sign Dewan Smoot. I mean, I don't know what he would have. He's not going to get 30. He's not going to get 20. But, you know, maybe you could sign Smoot for, I don't know, maybe 10 he'd be asking for. But potentially. I think with I think Herndon and Shatley could be like a 1 year, 2 year, $2 million a year type of guys. And so I don't know why they wouldn't want to bring those guys into camp, just for the sheer reality of the fact that they're vets on the team. They know Jacksonville. They've been through hell in Jacksonville. They've seen the light in Jacksonville. And, they're the guys that always seem to be ready when they're called on. So I don't know why they wouldn't at least bring those guys into camp.
They got Eric Armstead and Devon Hamilton they signed, so maybe they won't be thinking too much about Smoot at this particular time.
Yeah.
And the way I looked at my draft here, I got 3 guys on the defensive line or edge. So, Dwayne's probably looking at the outside looking in. But one guy that you talked about is Shaq Quarterman. I think he's valuable enough, Daniel, to hang on to.
Yeah, and I think, and like I said, he's young in the game. So you look at the money and you look at the cap hits that some of these guys have, and guys that they got on the team. They got a bunch of guys that are on this team right now for $1 million, $2 million. Yasir Abdullah, linebacker's on the team he's on for $1 million. Monteric Brown's on for $1 million. These Cole Van Lannon, who had to fill in last year, he's on for $1 million on the offensive line. So I mean, it's not really costing them a ton of money for some of these guys. I mean, Tank Bigsby's going into his second year, $1.2 million. Blake Hance that they could. I mean, Brenton Strange that they got tight end here, he's $1.3 million. Muma's only hitting them for $1.47 million. Fortner's $1.5 million. So, it's not that they can't bring these guys back. And like I said, I think if they bring Shatley and Herndon, it's going to be $1 or $2 million. So I know to us, that's a ton of money. That's fantastic. But to these guys, it's like $1 in the NFL. And I feel like Shatley and Herndon should come. I do agree with you that Smoot probably could be on the outside looking in. I think Jamal Agnew is. But, a guy like Shaquille Quarterman, who's young in the NFL, who can help out, that's somebody that I would look to. And then, unless they really think that a guy like Abdullah or, some of these guys that they drafted, like an Abdullah that they drafted late, that they think that's going to pay off more. But, I mean, ultimately for me, it's Trey Herndon and Tyler Shatley. I mean, those are 2 guys that, maybe they play in the NFL for 2 or 3 more years and they retire. And why not retire a Jaguar with the fact that, if I was going into the office of Doug Peterson and I'm Shatley or I'm Herndon, I would say, listen, whenever you guys have needed me, you've pushed me down the depth chart. I'm not a starter anymore, but whenever you need me, I show up. Whenever you need me, I got it. When Jalen Ramsey was gone and they thought one half of the field was going to be left open, Trey Herndon balled out. When Tyler Shatley had to play center, had to play guard, when he essentially became a starter after being a backup for a bunch of time, he filled in swimmingly. And so, I mean, I feel like those are guys you keep. That's my opinion. They let go of Calais Campbell, and Calais is still playing. And the whole thought when they got rid of him, people were like, well, Dan, how many more years is he going to play? And the man's continued to play. He was Defensive Player of the Year for the Ravens. I think the first season he went over there. So, I mean, ultimately, the list has trimmed down, but Shatley and Herndon are guys that I would keep if I'm Doug Peterson. DeJuan Smoot and Agnew, that's kind of a little bit heartbreaking for, it's kind of gut-wrenching a little bit for me, but because these guys, I mean, they've worked hard, and they all work hard, but, I mean, Smoot was a guy that I thought Jacksonville was going to let him go, and they didn't. And then Agnew, I just don't see a world for him with Duvernay on the team now, but Shatley, we all know that this offensive line goes through injuries, and he can play center or guard. And then Trey Herndon, my goodness, just having him in the locker room is a blessing. So I feel like at the very least, Jacksonville, spend $2 million and keep 2 guys. When you're spending $30 million on one guy, let's spend 2 and keep 2.
Okay, makes sense.
John,
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So let's get into Josh Allen. We know that Foye Oluokun, linebacker of the Jaguars, was extended 3 years, which could be up to $45 million. And we know that Josh Allen has now been extended as well on a new 5-year deal. that has $150 million on it with $88 million guaranteed, meaning that almost $70 million of that 150 is not necessarily going to come to him. It depends on if the Jaguars decide to keep in that 5-year span and what happens from here. But I consider the linebacker core to be the strongest of any group on this team. And when you look at the linebackers and you look at this room, Foye Oluokun, who's been a captain, and Josh Allen, who's been a captain, these are huge pieces. Foye was a great addition that they did in an offseason a few years ago, bringing in Foye, a guy who had already played some years in the NFL, and then drafting Josh Allen turned out great for the Jaguars. The Jaguars have been known to draft guys who play really well, and then they go leave and they sign a big contract elsewhere. I applaud the Jaguars that they did not let Josh Allen be another name on that list of guys that they drafted that ended up turning out to be good, that turned around and went somewhere else. Josh Allen locked up for 5 years, humble guy, hardworking guy, awesome guy, and the single season leader in sacks in a season with 17.5. What are your thoughts on Foye Oluokun and Josh Allen both being kept on Jacksonville together, at least for the next 3 years, and Josh Allen hopefully for the next 5 years, and hopefully Foye will extend out as well?
Well, those are big signings. I mean, the Josh Allen thing, when it hit, you see a lot of people hooping and hollering around Jacksonville area. That's a big time pick. Oluokun is a good player. He's not in the Josh Allen league though, but to sign Allen for $150 million, Daniel, that money is filthy. $150 million. Are you kidding me? For 5 years?
Yeah.
$30 million a year. I was bitching with Mike Trout wound up with $40 million a year playing baseball. And they give me Allen, well, listen, if the economics are there and the Jaguars can afford it, that's fine. He's a hell of a player. Frankly, he was the only player that I really count on to make a play when it needs to be. And he's phenomenal. And I know that the whole Jacksonville Nation, the Jaguar Nation, will be very pleased that he's tied up. Oluokun for 3 years and him for 5. I mean, you can't go wrong with that. And you got some of these guys. I got some of these edge guys on my list here to draft. Maybe if they're lucky to be drafted, they'll watch a real pro go to work.
Well, here's the thing, PJ. Do you want to know the top 8 most expensive contracts for the Jaguars this year? Here's the top 8. These may surprise you. May surprise some people watching and listening around the world as we go on the prowl with the Jaguars coverage here. Here are the top 8 most expensive. And I picked the top 8 because all of these in the top 8 for the Jaguars for the cap hit in 2024-25, all the guys that I'm about to name are making at least $10 million this year. Christian Kirk, most expensive player on the Jaguars. Wide receiver will hit the cap this year at $24.23 million. Offensive tackle, left tackle, Cam Robinson will hit the cap for just shy of $22 million. Foye Oluokun will hit the cap for $15.75. Trevor Lawrence in his rookie contract is the 4th highest paid player on the Jaguars, which will hit the cap for just shy of $12 million this year. Brandon Sheriff, who was brought in to play offensive guard in a move that brought him in from the Washington Commanders. Sheriff will make around $11.6 million, $11.56 million this year. Josh Allen, linebacker, will make $11.15 million. Wide receiver Zay Jones will make just shy of $10.8 million. And Trayvon Walker, another number 1 overall pick, will make $10.19 million at outside linebacker. PJ, are you surprised of the 8 that I named that Christian Kirk is the most expensive, Cam Robinson the second most expensive? Does any of this throw you off that Zay Jones is making over $10 million? They got 2 number 1 picks that they're going to have to figure out, with Lawrence making $11 million and Trayvon making $10 million plus this year, knowing that both of these guys are going to ask for far more. What are your thoughts on this? Does anything surprise you in the most expensive contracts for the Jaguars this year?
I'd have to say that the Kirk contract is pretty gross. I mean, they really overpaid for this guy. I mean, he's a good player, no doubt about it. But that's filthy money too. I can't see us paying that kind of money for them. Zay Jones is another one. These guys are good players, Daniel. Don't get me wrong. They just don't, in my opinion, don't command that kind of money. Now the Trayvon Walker thing is a little different story because I thought that we should have got Aiden Hutchinson from Michigan that went to Detroit, and I still feel that way. Trayvon Walker is a good player, and hopefully he'll blossom into sort of a mini Jones, mini Josh Allen. But I really, really wanted Aiden Hutchinson, and I think I was proved right on that one. But so the wide receivers is a big surprise to me. I think that there's other wide receivers in the league that will command that kind of money that are better players. But being that they're with the Jags, of course, I'm going to pump them up. But Kirk and Zay Jones, that's a little too much money for me. And Trayvon Walker, I would trade him.
Yeah, and yeah, when you look at this, I mean, and if they had Aiden Hutchinson, there's the reality that they would be spending a lot of money on Aiden Hutchinson after his rookie contract. But I would say this to Christian Kirk: enjoy this year, because Trevor Lawrence is about to pass you for the highest paid Jaguar. But
No doubt about that.
but that's but it is surprising, and I love talking to Christian Kirk, and I appreciate Christian Kirk. I appreciate his faith. I appreciate his him being the type of person that he is in the conversations that we have had, and the leadership that I think that he can, the way he breaks things down, the way he talks about things, being cerebral and whatnot. I have respect for him, definitely, and just looking at where he's at, though, in this, I mean, $24 million, that was a lot of money to spend on him. And I think anybody looking at this would say, Christian Kirk being the highest paid, and even Cam Robinson being the second highest paid, when he's gotten injured time and time again, that to me is something where you kind of scratch your head when Kirk and Robinson are your two highest paid. And if Christian or Cam, if you guys are listening, this is not me a knock on your play. This is not me a knock on your talent. It's me saying, if I was looking at the 53-man roster for the Jaguars, these are not the top two most highest paid players that I would imagine. And I think if you did a blind test of people and you put all this out here and you said, who do you think are the top two? I don't think people would say Kirk or Robinson. I think that they would, probably venture elsewhere. But Josh Allen right now is the fifth highest paid on the team, and he's barely above Zay Jones. So a little bit interesting there. We'll see how this shakes out. Of course, he's got his new contract, but if they do re-sign Trayvon Walker after his rookie deal, they're going to have to be careful because Trayvon and Josh are in the same locker room. And if Trayvon makes a lot of money over Josh Allen, there's going to be a problem there. So, but I mean, Josh Allen, listen, that man should have been paid before last season started. I'm happy they figured it out. I said that they had to take care of Josh Allen, get him off the franchise tag, and then shift gears to Trevor because I said they should have worked on Trevor for 2 or 3 years. Okay, at least they should have been doing it last year. These negotiations, I hope that they've been talking to him and his agent at least at the beginning of last year to now, that they're spending a couple years on it. Trevor knows that the focus is on him now. They've locked up Josh Allen. They've locked up Foye, which is a good thing there. And now I think it's their job to lock up Trevor Lawrence for the foreseeable future and make sure he signs some type of deal for 5 or 6 years, 7 years. I'd love to see a 6-year deal. I know it's going to be, this could be 6. I mean, I'm telling you this right now. Don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if they make the playoffs. Now, first and foremost, they need to sign this deal before the postseason. But if they make the playoffs, do not be surprised if Trevor Lawrence is a $300 million contract. It may not be all that money is guaranteed, but if you see $300 at the end of this contract, and really it's $270, I'm thinking 6 years, $270, but the contract may read 6 years, $300, with not all of it essentially guaranteed to be coming to him. But PJ, I'm saying 6 years for Trevor, somewhere around $270 million.
You're getting up there to Patrick Mahomes money there, brother.
Well, listen, hey, there's guys getting paid a lot of money that aren't Patrick Mahomes, and when Deshaun Watson can get a fully guaranteed $200+ million contract after being out of the NFL for over a year, Trevor Lawrence should be asking for a good amount of money. And I mean, look at Joe Burrow. I said what he was going to make. I almost completely had, like, I had Lamar Jackson almost to the T, his contract. And then Joe Burrow goes and sign his. I think that in the world we live in today, Trevor Lawrence at least is 250, probably 270. I'd like to see 6 years with a team option toward the back end.
Those are lofty numbers, and well, certainly from our standpoint, he certainly deserves it. I think we have to say something. I know we're going to be closing here soon, but we have to say something about Pedersen this year. To me, Pedersen's on a hot seat here. He's done a good job with the Jaguars. He hasn't done a great job with the Jaguars. For some reason, his team's getting in a little funk, and they don't produce, and I don't know why that is. I don't know if he's going to call the plays or not, but Pedersen, he's got to look at Chad is going to be spending a lot of money on these guys pretty soon. He just did on Allen, so and then you got the draft coming up, and if my man Brian Thomas comes in as a wide receiver, they're going to tie him up pretty good too. So I'm looking at some hefty payrolls here, and Pedersen needs to put the pedal to the metal, no pun intended.
Yeah, no, he definitely, we got to figure it out. And, I think they got to figure out their, are they going to have Press Taylor call the offense? Is that going to be the thing? Is it going to be him and Doug Peterson? How are they going to really break this down this year is going to be interesting to me. And I look forward to seeing what they're going to do. But I would think the Jaguars absolutely have to make the playoffs in order to secure the future of Doug Peterson. And I think I don't know if offensive coordinator Press Taylor I don't know if he's secured through this year. I think he's secured for maybe the first 8 games or the first 10 games. I think they're going to maybe they'll assess it during the season. So we shall see what happens. Final note is something Papa Joe is really excited about. He begged me to talk about it this morning, so I obliged him that we will. PJ is a big fan of Brazil. He's a big fan of Sao Paulo, Brazil. And PJ he's got everything ready. He's got his T-shirt ready for Brazil. He's got his flags ready. He's decked out his cars, all them hot rods that he has. He's got them decked out with the Brazilian flag. He is going to be the first person at the game. He's already bought tickets for Friday, September 6th, 2024 for the Green Bay Packers going up against Philadelphia Eagles. We have never seen a regular season NFL game in Brazil, and it's been more than 50 years since we've seen a Friday night game on opening weekend of any NFL season. It's been more than 50 years since that's happened, more than half a century ago since the last time that's happened. So PJ is a giant proponent of Brazil, as a giant proponent of everything there, of Sao Paulo, and the fact that you are going to make sure that you're the first person there. You're bringing a caravan from Florida. You've offered to buy other people's tickets. You've gone beyond for this. So what are your thoughts on the NFL going to Brazil?
Daniel, that is so much BS. I've never heard you talk more about something. That is absolutely terrible. Who in the hell cares about going to Brazil to watch a football game? This is like going to Germany or England watching a football game or seeing a football game. I don't understand it. What are they going to do? They're going to have a team from Rio de Janeiro play for the NFL? No, come on, I don't get it. I don't know what they're giving these guys, but hey, you know what? The men, they deserve something like that. So the team wants to travel to Brazil. Yeah. I let them play, and they want to go around, chase some honeys, and drink some beer. I guess there's nothing wrong with that, but it won't be me.
So obviously I was being facetious, sarcastic, and Papa Joe going to Brazil, but I know that he'll be staying up late Friday night to watch that game. So with that being said, PJ, I appreciate you as always. Time flew by as it does every single week. It feels like we've been on the air for 15 minutes, but it's been 2 hours. I appreciate you. I love the PJ takeover, and I'm so happy I got to see you and MT and the Eclipse this past Monday. So I send you all my love as always. Of course, my love to my big brother Joey, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. And as always, thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you, Dana. Have fun. Bye.
Take care. That coming from Papa Joe here, where sports meets life. PJ Takeover happening Thursdays on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We appreciate the conversation we got to have with PJ, and we appreciate you joining the conversation this morning as well. So with that being said, I want to thank you all for watching and listening on youtube.com and facebook.com, both /wakeupcalldt. And I want to thank you for listening to internet streaming radio on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. I want to give a big shout out to all the places that have been so gracious in carrying our show. I cannot thank you enough. So a big time shout out to Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT, and you will find our show. Make sure to subscribe and make sure to download the show so you never miss a broadcast again. Big time thanks to our incredible partners that we have in Central and Upstate New York. We implore you to go and visit all of them. Carvel DeWitt, as well as the Wildcat Sports Pub, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, GG Cards and Breaks, Avicoli's Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Chick-fil-A Cicero and Chick-fil-A Clay, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, as well as Pizza Man, Great Lakes Honda City, Mother's Cupboard, and of course we are the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins. It's Fins Up every single month on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You will find your Dolphins with us during Dolphin Time, which happens Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Eastern Time every single week. Find your Dolphins here with us. First and third Wednesday of each month is AD&DT with Athletics Director Bob Beretta and myself, Dan Tortora. The second and fourth Wednesday, you'll find the Dolphin Dive, diving into stories of student athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni. All of this content is easily found by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe and hit the notification bell, and you'll find all of it there on our Lemoyne Dolphins playlist. You can also find the Dolphins on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage, and you can find the Dolphins by going to our exclusive partners tab on wakeupcalldt.com. For more information, go to LemoyneDolphins.com, and as always, Fins Up. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You will find your Bobcats every single month here on Wake Up Call, where sports truly meets that thing called life. And those Bobcats come to you in what we like to call the Bobcat Buzz, with student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year. Find the Bobcats by heading off to our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. That's youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find your Bobcats right there. You'll find the BSC Syracuse playlist on our YouTube channel. And of course, you can go to wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and find the Bobcats there, as well as going to the exclusive partners tab on wakeupcalldt.com. For more information, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com. And of course, as always, go Bobcats. The Binghamton University Bearcats are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. You will find the Bearcats every Tuesday on Wake Up Call at 10 a.m. Eastern Time during what we like to call Bearcat Time. And that Bearcat Time each month will feature our specials known as Moments with Marshall and the Bearcat Break Room. Moments with Marshall features the athletics director of Binghamton University, Gene Marshall, giving us a behind-the-scenes look at what's going on at Binghamton University. Bearcat Break Room involves student athletes, coaches, and administration telling their stories and what Binghamton University, the community, and the program means to them. The Bearcat Break Room, we've already underpromised and over-delivered in just a little bit over a month's time of working with Binghamton University, promising you one special every Tuesday, and we've doubled up on a bunch of them. So we've started off with more than we promised with the Binghamton University Bearcats, and you can find all of it by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe and the notification bell. You'll find the Binghamton playlist. You can also find the Bearcats on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage. Look for the B, and you can find them underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to bubearcats.com and go Bearcats. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, big time thanks to Papa Joe. Head to Mon Paz, the snack capital of CNY. We look forward to seeing you there for the freeze-dried candy. Everything that they have is amazing. They keep adding stuff. So think about the fact that they were an awesome place for a snack a couple of years ago. Now they have more snacks than you can even imagine. Whatever your sweet tooth or your savory tooth is asking for, bring your teeth to Mon Paz and have some fun sinking your teeth into the kettle corn as well as their popcorn. They're amazing old-fashioned caramel corn that I know my G-Mama would go crazy for. Their cotton candy, their chocolate-dipped pretzels, their chocolate-dipped Oreos, everything they do, and their new line of freeze-dried candy, the Fruit Bursts, the Rainbow Rounds, the Mambos, all of the stuff that they have there for you, the Brain Busters. Go and get them today at Mon Paz, 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. And as always, folks, God bless, no stress, do your best. Have a great day, and we'll talk soon.